I'm gonna go ahead and give everybody like a definition of hanking. In Dayton, um, people selling drugs, they call it hanking. If a nigga was selling a lot of dope, they like, what I'm saying, I'm hanking.
Yeah.
So what I did it took and put a positive spin to it. So I took the word hanking and I made it stand for when you can supply the demand and consistently turn a profit.
This is a certified hood classic.
We've been had money. Money ain't nothing without us being together. It don't do no it don't make no difference if you the maid or if you the motherfucking bodyguard. Everybody get extras around here, friends benefits. Everybody travel from place to place and kick it with each other, and every place is like home.
Love Child got that sauce.
Let's get it.
Welcome to my city, Westwood, ain't Ohio. Midwest players and hustlers, check the bio. They call me Hankin for a reason. If I said it, then I done it. I supply what they demand and make a profit from it. I'm in love with the game. Run, Hopper, Norris, Cole. Ohio players self-made. Jam City, we on gold. M-double-G, yeah, money go getters. Real niggas bout that life. Niggas can't up with
They
us.
call me Hankin for a reason. If I said it, then I done it. I supply what they demand and make a profit from it. They call me Hankin for a reason. If I said it, then I done it. I supply what they demand and make a profit from it.
I salute to all the hustle, Jay, Charlie, Bugs, and Rounders. Keith, Denny, Bert, Earl, the D-boys in the Allens, Chino and Lil J, Mac and Carleon, Skane, Key and Diamond Cut, DBM, you know we own. I used to cook the D, I did corn, shoot the 3 when he played for the Heats. Then I flooded the streets. Hustle gang, that's my squad, that's my motherfucking team. Just might be your worst nightmare or sell you a dream. We all about the money, up the system, they corrupt. Ain't no credit, straight cash,
So I got my hustle up. They call me Hankin for a reason. If I said it, then I done it. I supply what they demand and make a profit from it. They call me Hankin for a reason. If I said it, then I done it. I supply what they demand and make a profit from it.
Matter of fact, after you leave here, you end up getting your teeth on something and coming up with something better. You know what I'm saying? Like a new car, new house, maybe the kids get to go to school, private school, paid for, courtesy of the mom. You know what I'm saying? We pay. You know, that's simple. A lot of niggas don't like to spend their money. We love to spend our money. We can't take none of this shit with us. None. Ain't no armored trucks pulling up at no funeral. Simple.
My boy Hankin TV, that's my dog. He gonna be on the channel real soon. I think tomorrow, man. Y'all make sure y'all go subscribe to Hankin TV, man. You feel what I'm saying? That's my boy. He put dope content over there.
Hello everyone, it's your girl in the flesh, Chhyld. And if you haven't already, go check out my viral series on TikTok at Chhyld Bush 1, Married to an FBI Informant, where I detail my life all the way down to my demise of being married to an FBI informant. And if you haven't heard, now you know, your girl be hanking. Hello everyone. Today I want to talk to you all about how I was sentenced to nearly a decade of imprisonment by the United States government. I noticed that an SUV that had previously passed me like twice before was behind me now with red and blue lights flashing. They jumped out with FBI vests and guns pointed, telling me that I was under arrest. They handcuffed me in a matter of seconds and I was freaked out.
What's up? What's up with it? It's your boy Hankin TV, and we back tonight with Chhyld Bush. We doing part 2 of Married to an FBI Informant. So how you been doing?
All is well. I've been doing great working and planning.
That's what's up. And I had already asked you behind the scenes, but how has things been going with the followers and the views?
Oh, everything's been going good. I've been getting a lot of encouraging feedback, positive feedback, really nothing negative at all. People telling me I need to push the book project and even people want to invest in my project. So things are going good right now.
That's dope. Have you still been running into any problems with people using your content?
Not that I know of.
Okay, that's good because like I told you, it's a great story, and people, they piracy. They'll steal your content in a minute. So for the
Yeah, I
people who
have a
don't,
lot of authors follow me now too.
that's dope. And so for the people who want to hear the last time, kind of give us like a quick kind of give us a quick breakdown of the series that you do.
So basically, I'm telling my story of how I was incarcerated, how I became incarcerated, dealing with my ex-husband. He was an FBI informant for some time, and he had a consulting firm that basically did third-party cooperation, which is to the extent of giving information to the government in exchange for a sentence reduction. However, a lot of the stuff he was doing was very faulty. I think it came down to the amount of money that he received. The government wasn't too happy with that, and ultimately, I received a 8-year sentence, and he received a nearly 20-year sentence.
Right.
So I'm
And by you,
basically just detailing my story from beginning of how I've gotten involved with him to how I got incarcerated and now what's going on while I was incarcerated.
and in this story, I consider you the victim, I consider you the victim. But have you got any back? Have you received any backlash?
No, none at all.
So people have been pretty much receptive of your story.
Very much so. I've had so many women reach out to me and tell me that it's amazing, that they love the story. They watch the series over and over again. How it's encouraged them to leave bad relationships and situations. So that's very positive for me. Because for myself, I tell people all the time when I'm telling this story that basically, I didn't walk away from this situation knowing that I was in harm's way. My children was in harm's way. I left this situation in handcuffs.
Right. And have you ran into any other women or men who says that this has happened to them as well?
Yes. People have hit me up and told me that basically similar situations and even situations just like this has happened to them before.
Okay. Um, I don't want us to repeat ourselves, but it's a part of the story that I want you to tell again because I ran across an article about something similar that happened not too long ago. That's the story about the Africans that had the money that was dyed black.
Okay. So basically he met some guys. So he was very flamboyant. So when he would go out to the club, of course, people would always, you can easily single him out. Large entourage, security, um, 30, 40 people following him every single night in the club. And so these Africans came down and presented themselves very well, driving nice luxury cars, basically telling him that they had a business proposition for him. Basically, they got close enough to him in like a week or 2 week span, whereas he was able to exchange phone numbers with them. And ultimately, they told him this story about this black money wash thing. And when he brought it to my attention, I was basically like, I've never heard of Africans having United States currency in Africa and it being black. But I never thought to even Google this at this time. And so he's saying how, yeah, I'm about to be richer. They're telling me that if I get them a certain amount of money, it was initially they wanted him to do at least 200,000 or 250, and they would return him 500. So he would get $500,000 return off of this. But he said he wanted to do something small after they one day took him to the trunk of their car. They had this money and it was actually dyed black. And he said they put on masks and they started doing something with some chemicals. They was dipping the money down inside whatever this liquid was. And when it came up, it was real money and the money was wet. And so they were trying to dry it off. And then they said, so we're going to prove to you that this is real. Take us to your bank. So he took them, he waited till the bank opened that morning. He took them to the bank. He walked in the bank with them. They watched him go up to the teller. He exchanged this money and told them that he wanted to get smaller bills for the money. And he was sold after that. Basically, because the money was legit, how they sold it to him. So then he wanted to go back in and he was like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead on it. I'm gonna do these $50,000 with them and let's see what's gonna happen. And so some of his bodyguards went to a hotel room that they had in Houston, and they went inside and they said they had guys up in there working, and so they had strong chemicals. And they said the guys put masks on when they got in the room. The smell was so strong that they had to leave out. They couldn't take it because it was like a smell of ammonia. They left out the room, leaving these guys to do this cleaning of the money. And when they're done, they basically tell them, here, take the safe. The money is in here and we have the key. We're going to meet you back in an hour or so. We need to go take care of some business. And so he didn't think nothing of it. And so they waited and waited for these guys to come back. They never returned. So he started calling them and calling them and calling them, and they're not answering. So he comes home with this safe, and he's basically telling me, hey, these guys, they're not answering the phone after we did this deal. I need you to call them off your phone. And so when I called, it was a Google Voice number. So I was like, why are you talking to somebody off of a Google Voice number? And he was like, that's the number that they gave me. And so I was like, you got played. Like, I'm literally telling him, like, you literally got played. Like, it's no way. And so he started calling people over to the house that evening. They started trying to break this safe open, and they couldn't get it open at first. So they started getting tools and stuff. Eventually, they were able to open a safe. And when they opened it up, it looked like big stacks of money in it, except it was wrapped up in paper. And once you unwrapped it, it was stacks of black construction paper with rubber bands wrapped around it in foil paper. It was absolutely no money, and he had basically got played just that fast. So they got away with the money, and we knew somebody from the airport because he had said he remembered that they said that they flew in and they had taken the license plates off one of the vehicles. And so we called in a favor to somebody, and they was able to send us a copy of the person identification with the information, and it showed that they were from New York. And so I ended up calling the FBI immediately. I'm basically like, no, they can't get away with this. And he was just like, no, just leave it alone. And I was like, no, like, you literally just gonna let them get away with that kind of money? And so I talked to like 2 or 3 agents. They initially called me back and were basically telling me that this is a big scam and that it's happening all across the country. People have lost way more money than that in this scam, and that they're trying to catch people who are moving around doing this, because they say they basically move around from state to state, city to city, and stuff like that. And so I gave them the information that I had, and I ended up going on social media, tracking down the person, and seeing his whole Facebook page where everybody was basically glorifying him, telling him they don't know how he do it. He was living in a high rise. He had luxury vehicles in New York, all expensive clothes, taking care of his family and everything. And so I went to sending him messages telling him that, he needed to return the money. And then I went to his mom page and his sisters, and I started sending them messages, and everybody basically just blocked me.
That's crazy, because when I first heard about the story, I had mentioned it to somebody. I had told them the story, like, man, this got to do with this money. And somebody else
So
had
many
told
people hit me up on that story and told me that it happened to them or one of their friends.
Yeah, so I was just scrolling on Instagram the other day, and the news was airing a story where a guy, I forgot where he's at, I want to say California, and then the same thing happened. These guys, they was from Paris, and instead of their money being black, he was white. And he fell for it. He was trying to sell a restaurant, and he fell for it.
Yeah, because if you actually after it happened, I pulled up articles on it, and people were losing millions of dollars to these people. Like, they were going all over California, hitting up some of the richest people, doing this to them. So I remember the FBI agent saying it's normally 2-3 groups of them, and they just move across the country from place to place to place to place doing this scam, and it's been going on for a long time. It was something that I had never heard of in my life, but he just basically was like, you win some, you lose some, and charge it to the game. And so that was the end of it.
Yeah, that's a wild story. So when we left off the last time, I think we stopped at the day you was arrested.
Yes.
And I had kind of told the people last night about it was you was preparing for your daughter's birthday. So we gonna pick up from the day you got arrested.
Okay, so on the day when I got arrested, I had told my daughter basically it was her birthday. This is in, let me see, 2016. And so I'm basically telling her, I'm gonna get the cupcakes and everything to the school this evening, because I was basically the homeroom mom anyway for her class. And so I'm telling her, I'm gonna take care of some business and I'll be at the school with her stuff. And so I get the kids to school, I'm arrested. After I'm arrested, I didn't really know what was happening, what was going on. They bring me back to my house, and they're yelling on this bullhorn for everybody to come out the house. No one is coming out. They have this big, huge black tool that they use to knock doors in with, and it's nothing but people in camouflage attire with ski masks on, standing all over the lawn. I'm just messing up my words. All over the lawn, and they're getting ready to knock our door in, and so I'm terrified because I see all these guns out and stuff, and I know that my kids or my 2 sons were in there. And so I'm telling an agent who happened to be the agent who arrested him the first time when he got in all that trouble when he started working with them. It was that same agent. So when I was looking at this agent, I kept saying, this agent, he just looked so familiar to me. But I couldn't at first pinpoint exactly who he was. But that was the original arresting agent. So I'm telling him basically, hey, the door is unlocked. I unlock the door. You can just go in. And so he's radioing over to them and telling them to try the doorknob. They try the doorknob. They all make entry, running in like it's some kind of military exercise. I'm waiting, nervous because I don't know what's gonna happen. And eventually they radio back and they saying they securing everything in the house. And so we're sitting out, and then they tell me, hey, get out. We're gonna take the cuffs off of you. We're gonna let you go inside the house. And so they take the cuffs off of me and they escort me in the house, and they start telling me, don't talk to him. Y'all can't say anything to each other. We're about to bring him back out of the bedroom, and we're gonna bring him to another part of the house. And I'm gonna need you to go into the bedroom and retrieve him some pants, some tennis shoes without shoestrings. And so I say, okay. And so I go into the room as they move him over to the other side of the house into the dining area. I go in the bedroom, but I see all these people everywhere. They have cameras. They're recording everything. They're going up and down the stairs. They're just all over the place. And so I get these items that they asked me for. I give it to them. And then I see them digging in my purses and everything. They're looking for credentials and stuff like that, looking for credit cards, bank cards, whatever they can find. And so after that, they tell us basically who's going to come over here to secure your house. And I'm like, well, my cousin is here. He can stay here. And they're like, well, he's not in any trouble right now. You know, he's not under any arrest. And so basically, I'm telling them that I'm going to leave him with my kids. And I ask, can I use the phone? And they tell me they will let me use the phone. So they did let me use the phone. I called my mom to tell her what was going on and what was happening. And I just remember telling her, Mom, could y'all please get here fast as y'all can? I'm being arrested by the feds. And I didn't hear anything. And I kept saying, hello, hello, hello. And I didn't hear anything past that. And then my phone started ringing back some time later. The agent was answering my phone at this time, and she was talking to my family. Well, when I told my mom I was being arrested, she fainted. She passed out. And so my sister, she calls me. They're telling me basically when the lady gives me the phone that, hey, we're en route. We're on our way to Houston. We should be there within 2 hours. And so I said, I'm not going to be here when y'all get here, but I'm leaving my 2 sons here with my cousin, Michael, who was my mom's sister's son. And I was telling them, just please, somebody stay at my house and get my kids out of school because they're going to be worried about me. And it was my daughter's birthday. And so, of course, they took me. So I leave with them. They put me and him in separate transport vehicles, and they take off with us. But the house is with agents everywhere. And I just remember them standing out there, and they were saying, yeah, we're going to be here all day. And they're making comments as towards, how could you afford to live in a neighborhood like this? And they're talking about how they've been working for decades and years, and they can't even afford this kind of stuff. And so I'm not saying anything. And then they take me downtown somewhere. They go through this tunnel in this place, and they somebody's waiting out there. Then they raise up a cage. They go into this private garage. They circle around or whatever, and then they meet with some people outside that's waiting for us. And then we go inside, and they tell me when I get inside to have a seat that they're going to take some fingerprints and some photos of me. So I go through that whole process right there, and then eventually they put me in this ice cold room, and they say, hey, somebody's going to come in here and talk to you soon. But I don't know how much time has passed. And it's like the time is going by so slow, and it's freezing in here, and I'm just shaking. I'm crying. I'm trying to figure out, hey, when they're going to come in here, when they're going to talk to me. And I'm really curious about me being able to leave and go home. Because they had told me on a ride there that, hey, we're going to try to get you before the judge before 2:30 today, so that way you can get a bond. So I was holding on to that. And so some hours had passed. By the time they came to see me in this room, I kept hearing a lot of muffled sounds and talking going on from room to room. I didn't know who they was talking to, but I could kind of make out that at one point they had to have been talking to him. And this was going on for like hours. They were talking to him. They eventually even came in and said, hey, would you like to eat something? We're going to Chick-fil-A. What do you want to eat? And I was basically saying, I'm sick. I don't feel good. I don't want to eat. And they was like, well, you're sick because you haven't eaten anything today. So let us get you something to eat. And so they were persistent on it. So I just basically told them, yeah, they can get me something to eat. So they leave for some time. They come back. They bring me food. They're asking me how I'm doing, and basically telling me the same story again, that we're trying to get you back to your family today. Even one of the agents stepped in the room for a second and was like, "You just need to tell the truth so that you can get back home to your children," and saying that type of stuff. And so I'm just holding on that they're gonna come in here, talk to me, and I'm gonna go home. Well, eventually, when they came in to talk to me, it was a room full of agents from Texas, Florida, New York, um, and yeah, Texas, Florida, and New York. These agents, and so they come in, and remember now when I'm looking at this agent really, really good, that it's the agent from years ago. He's just a lot older now. And so he's basically telling me, that, hey, we just need you to tell us the truth and stuff so we can get this wrapped up so you can get home to your family. And I was just like, well, I'll be going home today. And they was like, yeah, you're going to go home today. And so I'm basically giving them the whole rundown of how I gotten involved with this. They're focusing in on money for some reason. So the main focus is all this money. How much money do you think um, y'all have made from this business, and just saying all that type of stuff. And so I'm basically telling them it's been millions and millions of dollars. And so they're just agreeing with it and saying yes and things like that. Well, eventually they say, hey, we're trying to get you down to see the judge. But at that time, once some different people transported me over to the FDC downtown Houston, it was well after 3 o'clock that day. And so we go inside, and they're basically putting me in a holding cell with a few other people. And you can see a full display of everybody that's sitting out from this holding cell. You can see the people that's behind the desk. You can see people passing up and down the hallway, everything. So at one point, I see my cousin passing, and he's not looking too happy. And so I figured at this point, well, my cousin has been arrested. And after that, I see him. And so he's scrolling casually down the hallway with no kind of handcuffs on, anything, laughing and smiling with the agents, just going on about his way. And so at this point, I'm kind of confused. I'm like, oh, what the hell is going on? Like, why is he walking around free and he's smiling and they're laughing with him and everything? And they're just going on about their way, getting on the elevator. And they're leaving. So they come in and they basically tell me that, oh, you're not going home tonight. You're going to stay the night here. You don't get to see the judge until tomorrow. And so they take me through this whole process of being strip searched, changing my clothes out and everything, and basically putting me in a dorm and then giving me a room assignment. So I got in this room. It's another lady there. She's not speaking any English. She's doing a lot of mumbling. I'm assuming that she's praying all night long because she doesn't stop. She's just on her knees and on her hands on the bed, and she's just mumbling something. And so I eventually fall asleep. The next morning early, somebody comes in. They say, Bush, come on, you're coming with us. And so I get up fast as I can, and I leave with them. And so we're transported now to the downtown Federal Building on Rush Street in Houston. And so on the ride there, it's myself, a few agents in a van, and it's him and it's my cousin in his van too. And they're basically telling us the same thing. Y'all are not allowed to talk to each other, no talking. And so at that point, once we make it to the courthouse downtown Houston for what I'm thinking is going to be a bond hearing, we're separated. I'm put with some ladies, and them two go another direction. They eventually call us into the courtroom, and the judge is saying, why are they in these uniforms? Like, they're not proven guilty of anything. Take them back out, go get them dressed in their put them in some clothes. And so then we have to leave. We get dressed out again into our clothes, official clothes that we came in with, and we come back. And so by the time I come back, I notice that my whole family is in the courtroom. They're basically doing a hearing on somebody else, and they sit me into the jury pit. And eventually they call me out and stand me up, and they start reading out. They're saying this is an arraignment hearing. And so they're basically arraigning me on charges that they have in Texas at this point. And I'm hearing them say, like, Houston is fighting to say that we want this case here in the city of Houston. We don't feel like this case should be transferred anywhere. This was happening right here. And then there's these agents that was there basically with these other people saying, Your Honor, like, this thing went on across state lines. They were just saying like a whole bunch of stuff, but I'm not understanding exactly what's going on. They eventually come over and they start giving me paperwork, and it's in my name versus the United States government. And so they're arraigning me now for the Texas case, but it was Houston at this point. And I hear them basically start saying stuff like, yeah, who's gonna go first? And then they start saying, well, Florida wants to go first, and then we're gonna see what Beaumont wants to do, and then New York. And so then I'm really confused. Like, what are they talking about? Like, they're basically saying something like I'm gonna have to get arraigned in all these different jurisdictions. And so they basically tell me, so what's the date for a bond hearing? And they say the next available date that we have for this bond hearing is like October the 2nd or October the 3rd. Or maybe it was the 4th. But it was the early part of October at this point. It was a week from the date that I got arraigned. And so they're basically telling me, I can leave the courtroom now. Somebody comes over, they escorting us all out the courtroom. And so now I'm sick. And I see my whole family there. His family is there. Everybody's crying. And it's basically a week that I'm going to have to wait now to do this bond hearing.
Wow. So they had y'all charged in 3 different states?
Yes, it was initially. So what happened with the case was they took the Texas case and transferred it into Florida by Rule 20. And they took the New York case and moved it into the Florida case as one case. Just put everything together with Florida. And so that made it be Texas and Florida. However, at first I was fighting this case to even go to Florida because I feel like, why am I going to Florida for this case? Like, what's going on here? I never went to Florida and did any business with anybody, even though I had talked to people over the phone. I had talked to agents out in Florida several times. I even talked to AUSA through Florida and many attorneys. And so I was confused about, and they said, oh, it's because there's some victims over there. And I'm like, what victims? And they're basically saying, well, some money was transferred from Florida to Texas. So that's the reason why. And if you don't let them drop this case from a Rule 20, then you're going to be facing multiple felonies in multiple jurisdictions. So it'll be better if you just let that one jurisdiction take the lead and they make the decision on the case. So I was under the impression that this was going to be one case and, they would make the decision, a judge in Florida. And they were saying, well, we think Florida has a stronger case than what we have in Texas. Like Texas, we really don't have anything. So that's why they came up with the fact that they want this case to be transferred over to Florida. And so initially I signed the paperwork, even though I didn't agree with a lot of stuff in the paperwork. I was like, this is lies. I don't know this person. I don't know what's going on with all this. This never, ever happened. And my attorney was basically telling me at that time, well, the way that the government works, it doesn't have to all be true. And so I'm like, well, it's saying factual proffer. So it's not factual. And so he took the paperwork back because I refused to sign it. And he was like, well, I'm going to go and sit down with the United States attorney and basically ask them and see what they have on you and what's going on with this since you don't agree with it. But he called me back sometime later and he basically told me that when he went to go speak to the AUSA, that he seen one of the informants who was really good friends with my ex inside of there with their attorney waiting to go in and do some type of a meeting. And so he was like, I just didn't get a chance to go and talk to him that day, but I did talk. He talked to somebody else down there. And he said, I'm just telling you, if you want to go to court in all these different jurisdictions and prolong this, then, you can do that. But I'm telling you, in the best interest of yourself, you could be getting charged in 3 different jurisdictions with 3 different times. And they don't have to run them together. If you let Florida do this case, hear this case, then they can run these cases together and you'll do one time. So I agreed that, that did make more sense than me looking at maybe they're saying 20 years over here, 20 years over here, 20 years over here for a max, and then they don't have to run them concurrently. So I ended up signing the paperwork and I drafted that case to Florida. So after that, I had to get me an attorney in Florida, and I ended up having to go back to Florida again, sitting down, speaking with this attorney. And when I'm telling her what happened in Texas, once they drafted this case, she doesn't like it. She's like, no, that's not the way it goes. Like, this attorney should not have had you sign this stuff if it's not factual.
Right.
She said that she basically understood what he was trying to do, but at the same time, you don't want to be responsible for something that the government can't prove. And so we went to court, I remember, me and her, and it was for the arraignment process, and I just pled not guilty that day or whatever. And she was basically bringing up some of the things for the record and saying that she was going to reach back out to Texas or whatever. And so the judge was basically like, do y'all just want to reset this whole court date and we can just have her come back out here? Because, you know, I thought that we were ready to go. And so my attorney was basically talking to me about it and saying, so what do you want to do? It's already over here. I don't want to piss nobody off, but if you want to go ahead and we send it, I was just like, no, let's just move forward with it. And so we moved forward with that day. And we had several meetings over time. Her basically telling me that, you know, she was going to try to get me the best deal that she could, because in Texas, the Texas attorney is basically saying, well, they don't really have anything on you. I don't see you getting anything but probation, is what he's telling me. Then eventually my attorney gets an email from the AUSA in Florida, and she's basically saying that if I cooperated with the government, that I could be looking at anywhere from 2 years to 5 years. And that's given cooperation. And then she went into basically saying that, you know, they can have a meeting with me to go over everything, because they wanted more information now on his baby mom, because they knew about her involvement, but they didn't know the complete extent of her involvement and everything. And so I'm telling my attorney, I was like, well, I know that she got to have something to do with it, because when I went to the mailbox, and I'm pretty sure I can find some of these envelopes, it had like her mom's address on this, and I knew her mom's address very well. I said, but that's where the documents came from. But it had, you know, United States Department of Government on the envelope. And so she basically was like, well, if you have it, if you can find it or anything, just bring it to me. Like, get it to me as soon as you can. I'm going to talk to them. And so that's when I went in. Some months later, they scheduled me to come in and sit down with them, basically saying that it was a queen for the day process, whereas whatever you say to them, they can't use it against you. And so I go in with my attorney, and it's these big people, the people that actually prosecute you. They're on TV monitors from New York as well as Texas. And of course, we have all the people that's affiliated, the AUSA and the USA for the Texas case, in this big room. And it's this big, huge, long table. And everybody's sitting around. And then my attorney is next to me, and she'll tell me when I can answer a question and when I shouldn't answer a question. And so they're basically starting off again, wanting to know my involvement. How did I get involved? And then initially they started asking me about people that he was affiliated with. It even got down to asking about the extortionists and stuff. And so I'm basically telling them, like, the most I know is that he was paying them something called homage every single month. And it got bad. And they said, so we heard about, you know, the attempted home invasions. They're asking me about all this stuff that has happened that they know about. And so I'm basically giving them the information, like, yeah, this happened. This is the person that was behind that. And then they're asking me what other information I have to give. And I'm saying, well, I don't have any information to give. Like, that's the most I know is what was happening in our household and in his circle. Right. And so then they're asking me about this money, and out of nowhere, the USA said, so tell me about the money that you and your family recently moved with a U-Haul. And so I was like, what money? They was like the over $2 million that you moved with the U-Haul. And so I was like, I never moved any money with a U-Haul. Like, that never ever happened. And they kept saying, so you never you and your family didn't move money by a U-Haul. I said, and if y'all knew $2.5 million, you don't need a U-Haul to move that. And so that never ever happened. And so they were just shaking their head, looking at each other, saying, so where's the rest of the money? And so I'm basically saying, there is no rest of the money. The money is now gone. And so they're saying, so you're telling us that all that money is gone? And I'm like, yes, I'm telling you that it's gone. I don't have it. I mean, it's not here. And so then we basically concluded the conversation, them telling my attorney, thank you for coming in with her. We'll get back with you as soon as possible. After, I guess, they do some meetings or whatever. Well, I remember I was at home, and my attorney sends me an email sometime later, and the email is forwarded from the AUSA to my attorney to me. And she's basically telling my attorney, yeah, so we decided that we're not going to work with her. She's not forthcoming, and we're going to proceed with the original agreement. And so my attorney is like, I'm going to reach out and find out what do they mean, because I know that meeting went really, really well. So I don't know what does she mean? And so I'm like, yeah, what does she mean? Because I told them the truth. Like, I don't know what else they want me to say. And so my attorney basically said she was gonna get back with this lady. She got back with this lady, and she's basically telling me now that I'm thinking that this is coming down to some with some money. And she said she didn't like the way it was going, and that she felt like these people should be held responsible and accountable, and
You
this are
got
not
some
going to
you
be
got some
held
static.
responsible. So it basically at that time I was like, so what are we gonna do? And she was just like, I'm gonna start following these motions. So she followed multiple motions for me. And of course of me being free before I got sentenced. Up until sentence, I remember the day before she called me on the phone and she's like, I'm filing motions. It was even a point where I walked in to meet with her, and it was for the change of plea hearing. So after we went
Hey,
through
hold on, Miss Sleepy. Let me know if it's staticking, y'all. It's staticking on my ear. Let me know if it's staticking or if it's clear.
hold on, I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's staticking. I'm trying to ask the people if it's still staticking.
It's
Oh, let me see.
it's kind of, I don't know. I can't hear what you're saying.
You can't hear me? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, but it's like it's kind of like fried, like
I
that.
know. I'm trying to see what's going on. Hold on.
Do you want me to turn my Wi-Fi off to see?
Yeah, cut your Wi-Fi off and see what happens.
Hold on.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. She gonna come back up. I'm gonna have her go over that part of the story too for the people who don't know when she had brought up the guy's the guy's baby mother who was sending the letters. She worked at the Fed building.
You can hear me?
You hear me? Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
well, it's
better
good
now.
now. Okay.
It's a little in there, but it was bad just now.
Yeah.
But basically, I go back to meet with my attorney, and when I'm meeting with her, she gives me some papers, and she's basically telling me at this point, um, you already know who the cooperating witness is on this case. And you're not allowed to contact this person, communicate with this person in no kind of way, nor have anybody else contact this person or communicate with this person. So I'm confused at this time for sure. I'm like, what do you mean? I haven't contacted him. He's the one that was contacting my family. And so basically, she slapped me with these papers from the government stating that if I guess it will be called obstruction of justice or something. If I try to reach out to him or if I'm communicating with him or anything, that I can get additional up to 7 to 10 years added on top of whatever I'm gonna get, but to be served separately. And so she's like, I don't
It's
like this, and I don't like the way it's going.
it's
And so I'm
staticking
basically like,
again.
that's not right. You know,
Let me see.
it's it's acting up again.
Yep.
I turned off my Wi-Fi.
Let me see. Drop down and come back up like you did the last time.
I can just hear it's just like flying.
Let me see. I'm gonna have her drop down and come back up. I don't know why it's echoing like that. Let me see. All right. Yeah, it's a wild story, man. If y'all haven't caught part one of the interview, man, make sure y'all go check that out. And also slide through her Instagram. She all the way up, I think, to part 67. Married to an FBI informant. My Wi-Fi on. I got all my bars. Make sure y'all check out part one of the interview. This right here, part two. Married to an FBI informant. That's crazy. Okay, here we go. Stay offline. Can you hear me? It's okay. There goes. She got her bars now. Let me see. Say she muted. Let me see. Mute request have been sent. Okay.
Unmute. Can you
Okay.
hear me?
I can hear you. I can't. You got your camera? Is your camera on?
Yeah, I didn't turn it off. I'm trying to figure out why it's not on. Let's see. So how do I get okay camera?
Okay. It ain't
Well, the
saying.
camera was on, but now that I clicked it, it's saying not on.
Let me see.
Mm.
You said you had cut your Wi-Fi off.
Yeah, I turned it off, but then I turned it back on again. It's not letting me put my I'm clicking on the camera. It's showing that I'm offline for some reason. So let me see. Let me go back to Wi-Fi.
All right. All right. There she go. But it ain't. She got her bars. Her bars is on there. Hold on, y'all. Give me a second. Let me see something. All right. There she go. Is it? Add the scene. Where at? Speaker connected. Add the scene. No, she ain't on there. Hold on, y'all. Give me 1 second. All right. Can y'all hear me? Let me know if y'all can hear me. Okay, here we go. We on.
I don't know what's going on. Can you see me?
I can't see you. I can hear you though. I can't see you.
It's showing that I don't know when I click on the camera, then they put the slash through it like it's not on, but it's showing that it's on and it's just saying offline.
Let me see. Hold on. Let me see if I can fix it on my end.
So I don't. Let me see if I hit it again. No, it's not letting me. I don't know why it's not letting me get the camera back.
I can see your finger though. I see your finger. Y'all seen her finger. We about to get to the juicy part too. Make sure y'all subscribe to Mimi the Braid Go. She dropped her link in the chat. She been going live. She's uploading videos. Okay, there we go. Oh no, she fell down again. She had covered the Tyson fight the other night. As a matter of fact, that's where I had was keeping up with the Tyson fight. I was watching on my TV, but listening to her live. Make sure y'all slide through there. They don't want this story out, do they?
I do not know.
All right, I can hear you. I just can't. I don't know why I can't. I can't see you though.
I took the camera and
Okay, there you go. I see the wall or something.
let's see.
I see your hand. You might got to
So
flip
that
it around.
from one side. Okay, there we go.
There you go. All
Ah.
right. What? So
Okay,
can you
so
hear
where were
me?
we?
All right.
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. So for the people who don't know, you talked about his baby mom. His baby mom, she worked for the feds, right?
Yeah, she worked for the feds at that time. She was a unit secretary at the I want to say the low.
She was the one that was sending him guys that wanted to give information to get out, or what type of information was she providing?
So I don't too much know all the extent of her involvement in it, but I know that she worked there and that those documents were done by her because I remember it was a time, fast forward some. Well, the documents I still had some of the documents at home, And so I got the documents together and I gave them over to my attorney. And my attorney was looking at them and she was like, wow, like this is, I mean, it looked so real, she was basically saying. And so it was a time whenever I already had been sentenced and I had spoken to one of my good friends who had worked with her for some time. At this time, my sister was also working at the BOP with her. And I remember my sister telling me one day, while all this was going on, she was like, yeah, I seen the agents and stuff came in, and then somebody high up in the prison came down and put on a jacket. And she said when they came in, they was looking for her. And so I guess they went down and they looked for her and they talked to her while she was at work. I don't know what she said or what happened, but she wasn't arrested. My friend told me that somebody told him that the people came back to the job and removed her computer and all her stuff out of her office because it was part of an investigation now. So he was like, and so I'm basically telling him, like, yeah, he was like, really? She was making documents? I was like, she had to have been making these documents. And it comes out later that whenever they pulled her computer, that her computer showed that she had made these documents while she was at work off of her work computer.
Well, she ended up getting charged as well.
She got charged, but she didn't get, like, my sister was working there at the time and she was like, everybody was like, yeah, she's gonna get a lot of time for that. If your sister got 8 years, there's no way that she's not gonna get time. And she ended up only getting 24 months and she got restitution of a little over $200,000. That was it. Nobody could believe that. They was like, how in the heck does that happen? Like, how she worked up here, she was doing this, she should have been like a ringleader. How did she get so much? How did she get so less time than what I had received?
Right. So they basically had let him put everything on you.
No, he didn't put everything on me. I don't know what he actually said to the people, but ultimately I think that he was under the impression that he was probably gonna get out of this, that he wasn't gonna get time, and that I was gonna get time. And so I was talking to somebody that had been talking to him, and they was just like, he was saying, yeah, he's not gonna get that much time. He gonna plead to one count, and he ain't gonna have to do that much time on this and all kind of stuff. And so I was like, well, I don't know about that, because when I talked to my attorneys, they all were basically saying like he was gonna get a lot of time for this, and they was like, it's because of this money, he's gonna get a lot of time for this. And eventually, I think when he went to court, he was going through attorney after attorney, getting mad when they wouldn't tell him what he wanted to hear, and they had never showed him his PSR report, so he had never seen it and didn't know what his time was looking like. And I remember it was a time before I had got sentenced. He called me one time before this, and he was basically telling me I need to get in contact with the Wickedy Witch. And so I was confused. I was like, who is the Wickedy Witch? Like, I don't know what you're talking about. And he was like, listen, you need to talk to the Wickedy Witch. And so I didn't know what he was talking about, Wickedy Witch. Well, somebody called me and basically was like, he said you need to contact the agent in Texas on this case. And so he calls me back and he's basically trying to tell me, you're the only person that can help me. I got information. I just need somebody to do the work and all that. And I just went off on him, like basically letting him know, like, how dare you call me, the mother of your kids, and ask me to go out and do some cooperating with the FBI, the feds, with on your behalf, period. Like, I'm not doing that. And he was basically like, you're the only person that can help me. Why would you turn your back on me? He was saying stuff like that. So I think at that point he kind of started feeling like, oh, she ain't gonna help me. So I don't know what he told him at that point. Like, I literally believe that he was telling the people that I had all this money. I think he was basically lying to them, like saying that to the people so that they can switch focus from him over to me. And so my attorney even asked me about it. She was like, well, do you have this money? And I'm like, I don't have that money. Like, literally, we had that money in the house. He went through that money. I remember when I was going through that money, and it was less than $1 million in there. And I was like, hey, what's going on? What happened to this money? And he was basically like, what you mean? Bills. I had to pay stuff. And he was just coming up with all these different stories of why the money was so low. And so I told her, I said, I don't have that money. Like, literally, I don't have it. And I don't know who said that I have it, but I do not have that money. And I think that ultimately the government was believing some type of way that I had this money. And even though they could never prove that I had one account affiliated with this money at all, they eventually took the case and drafted my case in with his to sentence us together, but separately. That way, whatever they put on him, they were also going to put on me. And so that's how that story went. And I was just like, this doesn't make sense to me. Like, this is unfair. Like, what do you mean? Whatever they put on him, they're gonna put on me. And she was just like, unfortunately, the government is notorious out here. You just really don't know how they work. Like, my attorney is, because I'm telling her, look, no, you need to go in there. You need to say this. You need to do that. And she's basically telling me it doesn't work like that. Like, I'm sorry, but it doesn't work like that. But at the end of the day, I'm going to do whatever I can for you, because she felt like I was getting the raw end of the stick and that it was a bad deal altogether. And she didn't like the way it was going. She felt like main people in this were going to get away with stuff. And she basically told me that before I was sentenced. I was in a most notorious judge courtroom in Florida. Judge Leonard, you've heard about Kevin Gates rapping about her. And she basically told me if the color of my skin was different, then she could guarantee me, even if I was in another courtroom, a different outcome. But that she couldn't promise me anything with this judge, but that she was going to go in this courtroom and she was going to fight like hell for me. And she initially did, because I was looking at, once I signed the plea agreement to one count in Texas and one count of conspiracy in Florida, I was looking at 13 years. And so when she went in court and she argued all this different stuff, they never took the money amount down. Like, they refused to budge on that money amount. They were saying I was equally responsible for this money, just like he was. And they started saying, oh, they lived a lavish lifestyle. They were just, the prosecutor was saying, the U.S. attorney was saying anything that she could. And I remember it was at a point where she walked over to the table and she slapped a piece of paper down in front of me and my attorney. And it was a photo of me on social media. And it was a quote that I had quoted on social media that was like, it's not who's gonna let me, it's who's gonna stop me. I mean, it's not who's gonna let me, it's who's gonna stop me. And she walked over, slammed that paper down, and she said, in her own words, we must stop her and she has to be stopped now. And I was in complete disbelief that this lady was going off of a Facebook quote and quote this to the judge in a courtroom.
Right.
And so my attorney argued with them, got them to come down off of some of these enhancements they were trying to put on me, which put me in a category of 6 to 8 years at that time, from 13 to 6 to 8 years. And the prosecutor kept saying she deserves to get the max amount for her role in this and all kind of stuff. And so the judge ultimately went with the prosecutor, even though my attorney was stating that, hey, she's a first-time offender. She has zero criminal history. Like, people who have been sentenced in this case, that one person in Texas had already been sentenced, and they were sentenced for $3.6 million, and all they received was 3 years. And then my cousin, who they could prove had $750,000, received 2 years. And so she was like, I believe that her sentence should be less than theirs or not the same as theirs. And the prosecutor was just saying all this stuff. And the judge said, well, I'm going to go with the top of the guideline sentence of these 96 months in prison. So then I was sentenced to these 96 months in prison. And so after that, everything pretty much just unfolds from there.
Well, did anything ever happen to the agents that was involved that he was communicating with?
Nope. And matter of fact, in that meeting when I was sitting down with them, they were asking me all these questions about these agents. And in fact, one of the agents that I was talking to at that time was one of the agents that some kind of way was from New York, that was on the working the case against us. And then it was the agent that was from the Eastern District that was now in the Mississippi region, who was giving me the informant's information and contacting them for me. And he was basically saying how he was going to make sure that his girls get paid, how they was going to make this money. And I was confused because the government kept saying, we don't pay people for this. And I was just like, no, because for sure they get paid, because I know this agent told me he's going to make sure. Right. Because it was one person who was a drug lord from another country who was incarcerated in Miami. And the government took him from his country, stole his island, all his money, and dismantled his organizations. So they thought, I guess. And he had been reaching out through people on the outside. And it was a time when I was supposed to travel over to Florida and meet with somebody from his organization. I didn't think that it was safe for me to go out there and meet with somebody from this organization once I did the research on this person and I talked to their attorney. Um, he was big time. And so the plan was, from what the guy was telling me over the phone, he was like, I don't like talking over the phone. I'm going to get a burner phone to communicate with you on. And so he had a burner phone. And he was basically telling me that he just wanted to meet with me before he needs to get some guarantees that once he give this information that it's gonna work out for his friend. And so they
Right.
were willing to throw other people under the bus to bring in large sums of drugs from Colombia into Miami. And so while we were communicating with the agents on this case, the agents was basically saying, no, I want that case to come this way so I can get credit for it. So now they're saying, oh, we don't want the boat to come in with the drugs over here. We want it to come way over here to that place. And so I was like, well, I don't know if this guy is gonna do that, because he's basically saying that he wants it to go into Miami and that it's gonna be a large amount, it's gonna be people on there. But he wants to secure that his friend will be released from prison altogether. And the agent was like, yeah, we can't make no guarantees. It's a whole process on that type of stuff. Um, it's going to be a lot of legalities into it, depending on what kind of information this is. And even speaking with his attorney, she was basically like, I've tried to do everything I could to help him, but he wasn't willing to cooperate. So I guess now he wanted to cooperate through somebody to keep his hands clean, which was a lot of people cases. They would have somebody else contact to give the information and saying that, hey, this information has to be said that it came from, such and such. But ultimately, they were not able to pull it off. I remember speaking with the agent several times on that case. And just the fact that this guy, when I'm telling him, hey, they said they want you to have this boat steered over somewhere else, he was like, no, I'm absolutely not going to do that. Like, I can't do that. The most I can do, he said, because that looks like that would be really shady to the people that they're going in another direction. And
And it's
so
crazy. It's crazy that the feds is even working with this and doing this, and then turn around and him and people. You know what I'm
they
saying?
cannot be trusted. Altogether cannot be trusted. Like, I was just confused because I was like, well, surely, all these people, and even it was some deals that were struck, like basically saying, okay, we're approving this person to get the work done. Well, when the informants weren't showing up and then not coming back again, it was making it look bad. And so basically, they're calling us now saying, hey, what's going on? I met with them once. They didn't come back out here. We supposed to be starting this work. And then it's this mess with one of his friends that was an informant that had been taken from the money and giving the girls what he wanted to give them. And so now they're basically saying, nope, he didn't pay us the amount. And then he's telling me, no, I gave him that amount. It's no way. I know he paid it. And it was just a whole lot of drama with that kind of stuff. Eventually, he had sent his homeboy that I'm telling you that got the 3 years down to Beaumont because he had already been registered as an informant. So he told him, I need you to go down there and talk to them because I need this case done. Like, this case has to get done. And so he went down there, and I don't know what happened, but I know when he was talking to his friend, he left out the room, and his homeboy comes back and was like, yeah, the when he went down there, it wasn't good. Like, the agent started confronting him, saying, we know what you've been doing. Y'all been getting money, taking money from these people, and basically telling him that he was going to be in some kind of trouble and that they was blackballing him, his name, that he was not going to be able to do any work, period. And so I don't know. He just started telling me all this stuff about, don't worry about it. I'm taking care of this. I'm going to get it taken care of and all that type of stuff. So I guess he never got anything taken care of.
Right.
And whatever his intentions was, he continued to take money from these people, and he continued to push that he was doing his work. And he would tell them sometime the work couldn't get done, but he had already taken large sums of money from them. And I think initially, one person who was out the country contacted the FBI and basically told them, hey, like, I literally gave this person almost $3 million to help my son who's in prison, and now he's saying that my son can't get help. And so what he told me was, the agents are not helping child pedophiles. Like, this person literally tried to have a 3 and a 7-year-old shipped into the United States so that he can sex slave them. They're not working with him.
Wow.
And so I was just like, wow, but he had taken money from these people.
So that's basically you think what got the operation hot. People
It was
compared.
all the money. It was the fact that he was so flamboyant. His name kept coming up. He even told me one day that he knew a federal agent hit him up and told him that he needed to be careful with what he was doing. Like he would be now I don't know if this was even true, but this is what he was telling me. He needs to be careful and all kind of stuff because he's playing a very dangerous game. And he was like, "Yeah, the agent hit me up and told me that, but I got this under control." And it was just a lot of stuff. It was a lot of crazy stuff, but nobody knew what his business was. The people who he had working with him, he had them as informants, so he knew for a fact that they would not go back and tell anybody what kind of business he was. It was just all up in the air. Everybody wanted to know what he was doing. How was he getting all this money and stuff? It was just so
Right.
many different rumors out there.
Right. So before you got sentenced, did you already know how much time you was getting?
So before I got sentenced, I was looking at that 13 years per PSR report. So my attorney was like, I'm gonna go in there because I was like in disbelief. I was like, 13 years for what? Like literally for what? It doesn't make sense to me. And that's when she was explaining the legal system to me, basically letting me know how they work, how they didn't have to prove stuff, and that they had some people that was working with them behind the scenes. And she was basically like, I feel like they're trying to give you a raw deal. Like she just kept saying, no, they're now at this point, they're trying to find somebody to blame, and it's looking like that person is gonna be you.
So in other words, they really was trying to like blaming on y'all really to kind of wash their hands for being involved as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly, because I was just like, no, it's not making sense. Like, regardless, y'all saying one thing and they talking about this money, but y'all saying one thing, but on the other end of it, if we took the money out the equation, then would it even be a case?
Right. So the day you went to sentencing, so how was it the day that you went to sentencing?
So I remember it was me and my daughters. We go out. The plan was I had talked to my probation officer the day before, and I was going to stay for at least 2 days before I returned because I was hoping and praying that I was going to receive a self-surrender date. My attorney had entered multiple motions in, and now at this point, the AUSA is not responding to these motions. So she's basically telling me that when we get to court, that she's going to address all these motions, which one was a self-surrender date. The other one was a closer to home because she initially told me, she said, I'm sorry, but I'm going to tell you this. You're going to go to federal prison. Like, you're going to go. And the deal before was basically they're telling her that one of us will go and serve time because we had these kids together, and then the other person will go in behind the person when they got out.
Right.
Well, that got completely taken off the table like a month before when they drafted my case in with his and basically saying that we're looking at all this time and there's no judge in American history that's going to let me go in and do prison time and leave him out for that amount of time. So that was off the table. And so basically, I'm telling my attorney, I settled my kids away and stuff like that. And I really hope I can get a self-surrender date because I still have loose ends that I need to tie. And so in court, she asked for this right after they sentenced me. My attorney started saying, okay, so I'm not done. I need answers on these motions that I filed. And she's basically telling the judge that she filed this motion for a self-surrender date, that she's asking for at least 2 months or so before I have to surrender. Well, the prosecutor butted in really fast and said, no, she has a lengthy sentence and I prefer that she starts serving it now. She's already been out long enough. And so the judge said she agreed with her. Yeah, your sentence is lengthy and I prefer that you do start serving this time now. And so at that point, she's basically telling them to reprimand me into custody. And then my attorney asks about the closer to home transfer, saying, she has kids, her family is here. We would need her to be at a Texas location. And the judge agrees that I will get a Texas location as a closer to home. And so at that point, I sit down, my attorney look at me, and I'm not crying. I'm just like shocked at this point. And my attorney is telling me, basically, don't worry. I'm not going to stop fighting for you. Tomorrow, I'm going to go in and file an immediate appeal. Like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, she's very upset about this, too. My case was one of the last cases that she worked before she upgraded from a attorney to a judge now. So she's a judge out in Florida now. But we kept in touch for some parts of my prison sentence until she told me that it was nothing further that she can do for me, that the fight now would lie with me and the courts, that I need to try to make sure that I'm looking into every avenue that I could on the behalf of myself at this point. But that she had done everything that she could do legally at that time. So she filed like 2 appeals for me. They went through the courts and nothing ever came of them but no. So everything I did the whole time I was incarcerated, I filed multiple motions, anything I can file that could help myself. The U.S. attorney knocked every single thing down. Eventually, they ended up stating that I had some valid arguments in another motion that I filed. And so that led to them appointing me a new attorney. And so this attorney had been in practice for more than 50 years from what he told me. He was very old. He told me, I looked over the entire record. He said I'm not understanding what happened in this case because there's clearly informants on this case. This is like a lot of stuff going on. And so he said, I'm going to reach out to the AUSA on your case and find out what is her intake on it. And I'm also going to reach out to your attorney. And so he got back in contact. We're communicating over email, and I'm calling him over the phone. And then he's also calling me at my counselor's office, setting appointment times for me to be there for him to call me. And so he called me back. He told me, he said, well, I can't help you. He said, really? I don't see how you got the time that you got. He said, me doing this for a long time, I can tell you right now, your Florida case has already been affirmed. It's nothing that we can do about Florida. He said the problem with Florida was they already affirmed it. Once you were sentenced for 2 years and you fought those first 2 appeals, the question is Texas. So I'm thinking this is going in a good direction. But then he says the only problem with Texas, he said he can for sure get that Texas case thrown out on me. He said, but the only problem is even if I did that, Florida would still be into play. You were sentenced concurrently to 96 months in Texas and 96 months in Florida.
Right.
Even if we got this case thrown out, you still stuck in prison for those same 96 months. And so I'm like, what? And he's basically telling me, if I would have got to you sooner, then it's some things that I probably would have done different from your attorney, but I think she did a good job, but it's still some things that I think that I would have done different. And so he basically told me that, I would still be, even if he got this case thrown out, I would still be stuck doing those 96 months. So what's the point of me fighting that Texas case when I'm already stuck in here for 96 months? And he was telling me how he liked my appeal, that it made a lot of sense, and that it was very straight to the point. And I was like, yes, because, I'm getting sentenced at this time. And then there's people that's getting, I said, if you look, he said, yeah, when I'm looking, I'm seeing everybody got lesser sentences than what you received. But I think because they sentenced you and him together, that's how they were able to get the bulk of the time for you. Right. And so I was like, oh, okay. I say, well, I figured that already. I was the right-hand person next to him. So, of course, they threw me in there right along with him. And I'm basically telling him, like, this is not justice. And I just remember him telling me on the phone, he said, if you want justice, Miss Bush, when you come home, buy you a dog and name your dog Justice. I've been doing this for a long time. It's no justice in the system. And so I was basically like blown away with him even telling me that. But I just basically walked away from it at that time as like a lesson learned. Like, even if you trust people and you believe them to be doing the right thing, we very much need to know the laws that are governing us. We have to know that, because it's so many people sitting in prison on technicalities of mistakes of other people, on the word of other people who shouldn't even be sitting in there right now. And the United States government does not have a problem of handing out large sentences to first-time offenders. It happened to me, but it happened more so to so many other people who was incarcerated with me. So I was just in disbelief with our government. I couldn't believe that they were doing this to people.
Right. So how much time did you actually end up doing?
So out of my 96 months, I ended up only doing 5.5 years. Reason being is I received over a year in good time. Plus, when Donald Trump signed First Step Act into law, I received another year off of that. So by the time they put my paperwork into the courts, I think I had maybe like 6, maybe 5 months left on that sentence. And I went home to the halfway house with the remainder of that time. And I was only in the halfway house for two weeks period. Like they let me go really soon when I got to the halfway house. They liked me very much there. They told me that they didn't think I belonged there and that they wanted to get some people out. And so I'm thinking it's like the same thing because it was hell for me to get out of prison when it was time. It was so many things that happened that shouldn't have happened, that nobody cared that happened, that stopped me from going home. Just like at this point of my story, I'm talking about the COVID pandemic because I'm gonna get to the CARES Act where they were sending people home if you had done 45% of your time at one point and then it was 50% of your time.
Right.
And when I came up to 50% of my time to go home and I did my paperwork, and I had watched so many people leave and go home. And so I just was counting down the time to going to my counselor and talking to her because I had a good relationship with her. And I'm asking her, so what is my number looking like now? And she's like, you're at 48%. So you're getting close. Like every time she was telling me I was getting close and close, I was excited. And so then when I got to like 51%, they called me and I do this paperwork. I'm thinking I'm going to go home and they send my paperwork off and RM is denying me access, basically saying that I don't have any COVID factors that would make me vulnerable in prison. So
Right.
basically what they said is, oh, you don't have any health conditions, you don't have high blood pressure, you don't have diabetes, you don't have no illnesses that would um qualify you to go home. And so I was devastated at that point. And so I was hoping and praying that something else would come along and I would be able to go home. And the only thing I can think of was the First Step Act that Donald Trump had signed into law. And even though we were on the pandemic, I was allowed to still program. Um, and I was able to take part in different programs from even inside of my room without having to go to education. And because I was part of essential workers, they gave me nothing but time credits. So I ended up getting these time credits at the end, and it worked out in my favor, and I did come home because I wouldn't have came home until this year. This would
Right.
have been my release year.
So going through that time, they had y'all locked down the whole time.
So yes, so I'm finna tell. I was supposed to start on it yesterday, but something had came up. But I'm finna get into some very important parts of COVID that I think a lot of people should know. It was, I think, the part of COVID that fueled most of my journey going forward, and me wanting to be able to, um, be a voice for the people on the inside because I didn't feel like we had too many voices for us while we were on the inside. Um, there was multiple females that lost their lives. The first person that I'm gonna talk about now, is a girl by the name of Andrea Circlebear. She had received a less than 2 year sentence, but the government felt during the pandemic, it was safe for them to send somebody who was in their third month of trimester to prison. And she came to prison, and immediately when she went through transport during this April, um, she became ill when she got to Carswell. And of course, the facility is known as the Hospital of Horrors. They've had so many lawsuits and allegations against them that they're not even allowed now or licensed to operate as a medical facility, but they do.
Right.
So she's there and she's complaining that she has a headache, that she's sick, she don't feel well. Well, of course, they take their time with everything. Eventually she gets so sick because they have her going through a transition of she can't be around anybody because she just went through transport. And so because they're still transporting people in, they're making them go through quarantine for up to 21 days or up to 6 weeks. And she's one of these people. She takes really sick, her bunkie is sick, and they're telling them, hey, something is wrong. So eventually they take this lady out to the hospital. When they take her to the hospital, she deteriorates. She's put on a ventilator where she delivers her baby on a ventilator and she dies. And
Mm.
so I think I want to go ahead on and put that out there because I think the story probably didn't even get any coverage. Pretty much there was a couple of articles. I found out about it because they were acting like they were on pins and needles at this time at the facility. And I remember my sister sent me over. She kept me up to date on everything that was going on at FMC Carswell. If there was a death, if it was anything in the newspapers, union wise, anything, she sent it to me. And so I saw that story while we were on lockdown, and I was able to go check my email, and I just could not believe it. I was like, so the lady actually died, and they haven't even told us anything. And it was sad to everybody. Like we could not believe that somebody came to prison to do 2 years for a minor drug offense and was dead. and
Right.
left a baby, a family behind. And to me, I'm like, who would even send somebody in uncertain times to prison in a third trimester, knowing that this lady is gonna have this baby in prison when she could have had this baby at home and then came to prison?
Right.
So this baby is without a mom, and this somebody's daughter is gone, and it's senseless. I think ultimately her family filed a lawsuit, but I don't know where that lawsuit went at. But they did file a lawsuit against FMC Carswell and the United States government.
Mm. Y'all make sure y'all slide through there. I got the TikTok link is in the description of this video. Y'all, so what part that's gonna be? What 68? Part 68.
Yeah, this is gonna be part 68 of the story. I'm probably gonna record two parts tonight because I didn't record yesterday, so I'm gonna go ahead on and knock out two parts. But I was speaking to somebody and I was just telling them about the pandemic, and they was like, "You need to put that out there, like people. That's like that's whoa. Like people need to know about all this stuff that happened because I don't think that people understood how dire our situation was on the inside." Because it was days where I was exhausted, I was tired, I felt like nobody give a fuck around here. Like
Right.
y'all sitting on this compound, y'all making me go into these COVID infested rooms, y'all making me sanitize this stuff down, y'all transporting people to the hospital, y'all calling me across the street where they sick at, telling me I need to come and clean out these transport vehicles, exposing me to COVID. I never caught COVID that first year and a half, I think, of the pandemic. While we were going through, I was actually one of the first 5 people once they rolled out the Pfizer vaccine to be vaccinated. Even before the President Biden had taken his vaccine, I had gotten the vaccine. And the staff was not taking this vaccine. They were refusing to take this vaccine and basically saying, oh no, we're not going to take it. But we're being told that if we don't take this, then we are not allowed to work. Because it was a whole lot of crazy stuff that was going on the outside, but it affected us on the inside as well. And so I basically want to just like tell that part of the pandemic, that part of my story, that part of what was happening over at FMC Carswell. We lost, I want to say 10 women, they said was to COVID, but I believe the numbers were so much higher. They were saying that some of these people basically died because they were already sick, but I really believe because of COVID that more people died than what they're saying.
Yeah, I believe that too. And I also think it'd definitely be a good series on that part because I don't really think I haven't heard no series about how it was in there. I mean, I was talking to people that was in there during the pandemic. I haven't heard really actual no stories about it. So that definitely, I think the people definitely will gravitate to that.
Yes. Because I think that ultimately, if we ever have to go through a pandemic again, I think our government needs to be more prepared for it because there was absolutely no preparedness for this. I just remember them spinning their wheels and asking us, the inmates who were allowed to work on the compound, what do we think? Do we have any suggestions? Like they didn't know. But then we
Right,
have staff coming in when we're supposed to wear masks and social distance, and they're saying, "Oh, I'm not wearing that mask," and they're not wearing it, and they're not understanding that by them not wearing this mask, we're not moving around the comp. I'm moving around the compound. I'm one of 10 people allowed to move around on this compound. But y'all moving around in the free world when y'all leave here. And y'all coming back over here and y'all not wearing masks. And
right,
then y'all are contributed to the spread of COVID. And when it happens, it's like a wildfire. It's hard to put out. It was so many lockdowns that we endured, so many people getting sick, so many people having to be on ventilators. It was crazy. And I know my sister would send me articles and people on the outside didn't give a damn. They was basically a lot of them saying, well, they're in prison. What do they expect? But we're still humans. We
right,
still, I'm a mother. It was mothers. It was grandmothers. It was sisters. It was aunties. It was people that died that should not have died in prison that should have been able to go home. But they died from prison.
right. Because it's also wild. I watched a documentary about the prison in New Orleans when Hurricane Katrina had came in. How some of them guys had suffered. See, they
Yeah.
definitely don't care.
And that was, and I saw that documentary too. And I was just like, that's unbelievable that our government or our state government would allow something like that to happen, and a response that they give. It's like we're gonna get to it whenever we get to it. But these people are humans and they didn't basically treat us like that. We had a lot of staff at the camp that was pro inmate that, wanted to do whatever they could to help us out during the time. But then there was people that was over their heads saying, y'all gonna do it this way and this is the way that it's gonna be done. And
Right.
so then you have your union people in a prison who are part of these unions, and it's a lot of bickering going between them to here to there, and it's just a lot of madness. And so I want to say until some point of the beginning of 21, the beginning of 22, we finally came out for those modified operations that we won. We went through so many complete lockdowns. For the most part, I was never locked down but 3 times during the whole pandemic. At this time, when in my story, where I'm going to be talking about Andrea Circlebare's death, I'm also going to talk about the effects of George Floyd's death inside the prison. What happened to us because of what was going on the outside. So we were punished because of what was going on the outside. They said, "Hey, we don't care if y'all don't do this and that." They came in because of the pandemic. They some kind of way got hundreds of TVs, DVRs and stuff, and we had them in our rooms. So every room had TVs on the wall, and everything. So we had access to be able to watch the news, movies, and everything. Well, when the George Floyd situation happened, they called us out to the yard, did a town hall, and basically said, "Go in y'all rooms." And so I'm standing there with my crew, and they're like, "I'm sorry, y'all got to go in too." And they went to every single room and took all communication devices from us and told us y'all can't use phones and y'all cannot use emails until they figure out what's going to happen with this stuff with the George Floyd. And it was officers who was at the facility that was basically on the officer side saying he did the right thing. And I was going to the TV room when it first happened, and I couldn't believe that they were saying this. I was like,
Right.
no, like, I don't care what order you could have given. You don't stand on top of some kneel on somebody's neck and they back. Like, that's not right. Like, I don't care if he was on drugs. I don't care what he had done. At the end of the day, it was another way that situation should have ended. It did not end well. And
Right.
they just felt like, what George Floyd was at fault at that time. And I was like, that is just crazy. So we really have people who believe that, because even in the prison system it happened. You have officers in there who love dominating women, knocking them down to the ground, pushing them, jumping on them if they have to. Like, that happens in prison. And it makes you wonder, if they're doing this inside of here, what they doing outside when they go home? And y'all allow this type of stuff to happen to women. So it's victimized, people being victimized on top of being victimized while they're incarcerated. Like, that was something that I absolutely can never agree with.
Right. I know it's hard for anybody, especially males, but it might be kind of different for females. Was it hard for you to get on your feet and find employment when you got out by being a convicted felon?
So that was not my story, but I know so many people's stories that is. And so when I started working with Reform, that was one of the things that I wanted to talk about. When you come home, I think people don't understand how important it is for our communities to accept these people. Because if you don't accept people like myself, when we come home, what do you think is going to happen? You're stressed out when you come home. It's a
Right.
lot required of you when you get home. You can't just jump back into it. You got somebody breathing down your neck, telling you need to do this. I need you to do that. You have this amount of time to do it. It's stressful. And it's even more stressful when you come home and you don't have that family support. I had family support. I come from a big family. Everybody was willing to jump in right now, right then. What do you need? How much you need, this and that. Like, they doing whatever they need to do to make sure that I'm able to come out and not have to look back. And
Right.
so that's not everybody's story. And so my thing with Reform, I was basically telling them when I got accepted into their program, I was like, well, it wasn't my story, but I met so many people since I've been home, and I've talked to people that I knew that came home and they struggled, and they are still struggling right now. They give you a hard time to get a job. They give you a hard time. For me, it was the hard time for getting my own place. I was staying with my sister for like 9 months, but my plan was I want to restore my family. I want my family back. So I wanted to get on my feet, get my own place, and have my kids back with me. And I ended up getting my kids back with me before I had my own place. And so my sister didn't have a problem with me staying, but I felt like I'm taking up space and I want my own space.
Right.
And nobody in Houston would rent to me. I I'm sure it was places that probably wouldn't have had a problem renting to me, but I didn't want to go to those places. I didn't want to subject my kids to that. And
Right.
so
Definitely.
everywhere I went, I was told, no, your felony needs to be 10 years. So it pissed me off. I started writing Congress. I started writing Sheila Jackson Lee and Lizzie Fletcher and Al Green, telling them, hey, I'm a citizen of the United States. I've lived in Fort Bend County. I've lived in this community. This is where I wanted to return home to. I did my time, but it seems like since I've done my time, I cannot find a place to live. And basically, I'm detailing to them, there's people that go to federal prison for 90 days. So you
Right.
mean to tell me if you lose everything and you come home, you gotta wait 9 years and some months to be able to get a place? That's not fair. So my thing is that whether you like it or not, people are going to return to the community. It's best that you accept them and do what you can to help them when they come home. Because if you don't, you are contributing to the problem of them most likely having to return back to prison.
The recidivism rate. Right.
Yes.
What's some advice you got for a male and female just getting out of prison?
The best advice I can give you getting out of prison is to walk the straight and narrow, like follow the rules when they're telling you stuff and make sure that you're understanding what they are telling you to do. Stay away from those old people, places, and things that got you into the situation that landed you in the place that you was in, and just try to do better. Like for me, I feel like my incarceration wasn't a situation where it was people that I dealt with other than my ex and his circle, but I'm fairly a genuine good person, and so it's more people like me in prison. We can get bamboozled too, but you just got to be careful. So I'll just basically say that be careful and like follow the plan, whatever plan they have for you. And if you have questions and stuff, and you're on probation, always communicate with your probation officer, because I'm really good at talking to my probation officer before I make any kind of financial decisions, because that's a clause for me. Like basically, people don't understand that when you have financial crimes or not, they tell you can't enter into any kind of legal agreements with anybody without talking to them first. Don't open up new accounts. Don't get no new debt. It's all kind
Right.
of things with that. And I've seen it. It's so crazy. I seen a girl come back into prison, and she basically was like, "Well, I'm back because I got married." And I was like, What? That's a legal agreement. You can't come out of prison and think that you're finna get married now. No, you can't. You have to wait till you complete this probation or get permission. So make sure you know the rules. You need to make
Wow.
sure that you know the rules, because I had one mishap while I was out, and it was, thank God that he showed me so much favor, because it was innocent. I got sick. I had COVID. I felt like I was about to die, even though I went to the hospital and they gave me inhalers and prescriptions before I had went to the hospital. My sister, I was coughing so bad, she gave me some Sudafed. Now, I never taken Sudafed in my life. She gave me some Sudafed. A week later, they called me down to come take a UA. I take a UA and I test positive for methamphetamine, and I'm just like telling them, it's no way.
Right.
I've never taken a drug in my life. And when you're in a halfway house, if you test positive for over the counter medicine because you're not really supposed to take it, you will go back to prison. I know several people who went back to prison for taking over the counter medication. You cannot take it. The people came in and straight up told me, Miss Bush, we know that you were sick. We know you didn't take any drugs, so don't even worry about it. Like they told me straight up, don't even worry about it. Just go home. Cause I was stressed the fuck out. I was like, oh my
Right.
God, I'm thinking in my head, I just got home. I'm trying to get on my feet. Now I could be going to prison, back to prison. So I was freaked out. And so they basically told me, don't worry about it. We know that, you ain't. They asked me what I took, and I'm basically telling them I took Sudafed. Like my sister literally took 2 pills. And I was like, my sister gave me some Sudafed. Like I'm telling my sister, texting her while I'm up there. She's like, oh my God, tell them that I can give a statement. And at this point, I'm like, I don't think they care about a statement. But that was some favor right there. I didn't get in any trouble. But I never took any more medications, and any medication that I had gotten prescribed while I was in under the halfway house custody, I took pictures of it and I sent it to my case manager, making sure that they had it on file.
Right. That's wild how they just have us on a leash for the smallest things.
But yes, they was like, oh, even an inhaler, you have to have a prescription for your inhaler. And so at the halfway house, you can't have anything with alcohol in it. Like for some reason, they tests are so sensitive that it picks that up too, and they'll
Right.
take it as you were drinking alcohol. So they tell you mouthwash, you're not allowed to have mouthwash inside of there. No nail polish remover. Like it was a lot of I would think minute things, but to them it was big things. So I basically took my time and I still have the paperwork and I read through it and I sent it to one of my really good friends because the same thing had ended up happening to her. And favor on her end because she said so many people went back to prison in the Dallas Fort Worth area for that.
Right.
The people liked her and told her, don't worry about it, but just don't do it no more. And so I was like, that's crazy. That is absolutely absurd that you can't even take over the counter medicine if you're sick.
Well, you say you about to cover the pandemic. How much more your stories are? How much more your series do you got to go?
It's gonna I think maybe another 20 plus parts.
And where you at on the book part? How far are you? How far have you made it?
So I'm getting really far on the book part. I think that I've talked to several people. I've even talked to people that's hit me up saying that they're like financial advisors and telling me basically they can give me money to help me with this book project, and they'll sign legal paperwork saying that I don't owe anything, and basically they want me to pay it forward to the next person that comes about to me that needs help. And so I'm gonna talk more with these two people about this and just pretty much see like they even it's a attorney,
Right.
and she's basically telling me that she has attorney friends that could help me with anything, that she's just so hooked on the story that she loves it. And I get that all the time. So, I keep telling the story because they hit me up all day long telling me, hey, what's the next part? When are you could you please do another one? And some people who follow me right now are facing these legal problems. So, they like to hear this part of the story because they don't know what to expect and the unknown. And also it's the people who've been there before that tell me, hey, I know what you're talking about. I've been through that. That happened to me. It's a difference, I guess, in state and federal prison when I was talking about simple things as them giving you tampons and pads and things like that. And they're basically like, well, I was in a state and they basically limit you on this and that. And so I was saying, well, I remember when I first came into the system, it was like a box, and they was like, you can go to the box and get a certain amount of sanitary products, which was only consist of pads, and that's all you could get for like that day. But I think when Donald Trump passed the First Step Act, I spoken with and talked to Miss Topeka Sam. They were a part of that First Step Act when all the advocates got together and they started advocating for things that they wanted to be included in that. The pads and tampons was something that they wanted the federal prisons to be able to provide to the inmates, because in federal prison when I got there, if you wanted a tampon, you had to make it. But
Right. I've heard
as
that.
2022 rolled around, you got the best of everything, boxes on boxes on boxes of it. Like I actually went around at a part of my sentence and I helped give out supplies every week. So it was the good stuff. Like our camp counselor, he was pro inmate, and he was like, so what kind of stuff do y'all want? Like what's the best stuff that I can get? And he was ordering it, like ordering everything in there that we needed.
Right. And what can the people watch, and what can the people out there do to help you?
Basically just watch my videos. You can share them. Right now I don't want people making their own stitches off of it or whatever. But I mean, if you want to watch and share, I don't mind, because I know some people be like, well, I thought we couldn't repost. And I'm like, well, yeah, you can repost it, but don't take it to your other site and
Right.
start, putting it together for your followers and stuff without my permission. Like if you get my permission, I don't have a problem with it. But there's people out there that's taking it and using it as their own content, and it's my content, and I want to make sure that my story is told my way and not have somebody else put it out there and start trying to put it in a negative light, because it was a negative situation, but I'm trying to tell this story in a much positive light now.
Most definitely. Most definitely. I definitely appreciate you coming through. I'm gonna keep up with you. Definitely stay in contact. 'Cause I definitely gotta have a copy of that book when it do come out.
You'll
Um,
get one of the first copies.
I appreciate it. I got the link to your TikTok and IG in the description of this video. So if y'all watching the video, man, make sure y'all slide through. Just like in this interview, just like part one and part two, we touched the shell of it. Make y'all go over there and listen to the stories. The stories is good. Once I started listening to them, I got hooked. I go to sleep at night listening to them. You definitely gonna if you ain't been incarcerated, you definitely gonna learn some things in there. So y'all slide through and check her out. So anything you got coming up, just let me know, tag me in it, and I'm gonna make sure I share it. And we wait on that book. When that book come, we gonna push it.
Mm.
Definitely
Yeah,
gonna.
people saying, "Come on with the book. I know the book gonna be better." I'm like, "Yeah, it will be because it's so much stuff that I didn't share. I would touch on it, but I didn't share in a story, and it's things that I left out that I definitely want to be able to share in a book because I feel like sometimes it's just like watching stuff on TV. You don't get that effect, but when you read a book, the books are always to me better.
Right. And then after that, we know the movie coming.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, I got some people watching me trying to look out for some opportunities. So I'm sure, some time in the future we'll be hearing something.
That's what's up. Support, support, support. So make sure y'all slide through and follow her on TikTok and IG. Like I told you, I'm gonna stay in contact, and I definitely appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you. Thank you for having me.
You already know. Thanks. Y'all slide through there and check out Khalitha Bush. I got the link to her IG and TikTok in the descriptions. It's a deep story, man. That's why we had to do two parts. It was so much we really couldn't cover it in the first part, so I told her we'd do a part two. And the main thing, man, is really to get people to go over there to check out the whole story. It's definitely dope. It's a dope story. She said she about to touch on um, going through the experience in there when we was going through the pandemic. I had started listening to that. It was wild in there because I was talking to some guys in there during that time, and like she said, it was doing them dirty. I can just imagine. So we did me and Mr. Sanderson, we did doing it for the gram today, man. So if y'all didn't catch that, man, make sure y'all go and catch that. Yesterday, me and Free Game Vang, we did an interview, dope artist. Man, make sure y'all slide through and check that out. I'm definitely gonna be bringing y'all something tomorrow, man. So y'all tune in. Hit that like button. If y'all hadn't hit the like button, man, hit the like button and get y'all memberships, man. I'm still in full-time content creator mode, man. I'm gonna say until hopefully it's only another week or so, but I'm still in full-time content creator mode. I got a promo package I done put together. I'm sharing it on my Instagram. I'm doing promos. I'm doing editing. I'm doing intros. I got the price list up. It's on my Instagram page. If you ain't follow me on Instagram, man, make sure y'all follow me on Instagram at Hankin TV. Matter of fact, at Hankin TV on all platforms. Even slide through and follow me on TikTok. I got a TikTok. I'm going to start putting stuff up on there. Like I said, I'm in full-time content creator mode. Also, the links that's in the chat, man, when people drop them links in the chat, if y'all ain't already following them or subscribe to the channel, follow me and subscribe to them. We breaking up this content. We pushing nothing but we pushing positivity over here, man. It's all about sharing, man. Tomorrow is Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure y'all slap through Mactastic TV and check out the Purple Panties podcast. They definitely be having some dope conversations and topics going on over there. And they also let the chat chime in. They might be talking about something, you wanna chime in on. It ain't one of them spots where the host is running the show and they always right. Nah, they tapping in with the chat too. All depends on what's going on. I might be over there tomorrow. If I ain't on the panel, I definitely be in the chat, man. So that was part two of Hankin with Khalitha Bush, married to an FBI informant. I need to go check out that part one. I'm working on getting some more interview schedules. We definitely got more dope interviews coming. But in the meantime, we're gonna keep pushing that doing it for the gram. Also this Sunday, the 24th, we got Go Harder with Hankin TV. With Hankin TV and Butter Go Harder. That's another dope show we putting on. Chopping up topics. We also taking input from the chat. We taking the chat's input too. So if y'all seen something out there that y'all want to see us chop it up about, man, just shoot it to my DM. You know what I'm saying? And even during the show, if it's something, just drop it in the chat. We definitely can touch on it. And right now, what they say, I think at the Young Thug trial, when I went earlier, they was in lunch. So I'm thinking they in deliberation right now. But we got more crazy trials coming up. Diddy Bond hearing tomorrow. So we definitely gonna be doing it. Matter of fact, yeah, we definitely gonna be doing it for the gram tomorrow. We got some fire stuff about to be coming up. But yeah, man, Hit that like button, man. If y'all ain't subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel. Follow the links. I'm gonna take us out with the promo for the Go Harder with Hanky.
Like, you can ride the wave, but you're not gonna be the wave. I am the wave.
I got one more for y'all.
Y'all niggas rather be more famous than rich. I ain't never lived my life trying to be famous at all. I don't give a fuck about that shit. We trying to get this motherfucking money, stack these coins, so I can do what the fuck I want to do, and everybody around me can do what the fuck they want to do.
I'm gonna go ahead and give everybody like a definition of hanking. In Dayton, you know, people selling drugs, they call it hanking. You know, if a nigga was selling a lot of dope, they like, you know what I'm saying, I'm hanking.
Yeah.
So what I did it took and put a positive spin to it, you know. So I took the word hanking and I made it stand for when you can supply the demand and consistently turn a profit.
This is a certified hood classic.
We've been had money. Money ain't nothing without us being together. It don't make no difference if you the maid or if you the motherfucking bodyguard. Everybody get extras around here, friends benefits. Everybody travel from place to place and kick it with each other, and every place is like home.
Lord Child got that sauce.
Let's get it. Welcome to my city, Westwood, they know Ohio. Midwest players and hustlers, check the bio.